Hey everybody, and Tony here, and this review is something very special because number one, it's my 50th movie review. Number two, this is also a contribution to the Red Ribbon Reviewers, in which reviewers of all types of media, whether they be movies, cartoons, TV shows, and games, gather together and share the most honest opinions in the month of December in observation of AIDS Awareness Month. And number three, this film that I'm about to review holds something very sentimental, and it's actually one of my top favorite films of all time, the 1990 classic Christmas slapstick comedy Home Alone, which I saw during my flight from London Heathrow to Toronto, and I also saw it again yesterday afternoon on YTV. So let's get on with the review. The film was directed by Chris Columbus, it was written and produced by John Hughes, and it starred Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara, Robert Blossom, Devin Rattray, Hilary Wolf, Angela Gethels, Michael Morona, and John Candy. Now, Home Alone was a film that I watched religiously. My first experience with it, well, since I was a 90s kid, was when I was a toddler, and I definitely enjoyed everything about it. From the slapstick comedy to Kevin's scream, everything about this movie was just so iconic that looking back at it, it holds a very special place in my heart, and every time I watch it again and again and again, it leaves me with a huge smile on my face. And how well does this film hold up? Does it hold up very well for me, or does it fall flat? Let's find out right now. Now, story-wise, the concept of a child being left alone and having to fend for himself while his family is away for vacation and leaving him alone on accident is actually very refreshing for the time. And it's actually quite interesting to see how he's going to cope with it, seeing that there are also two robbers that are planning to make a heist and, steal all the valuables in each house. So for the time, it was very much something that's unique and something that has never been done before, though throughout the years, it has spawned some copycats or some movies that tried to really get the concept and tried to do it their way. But with the story and concept of Home Alone, it still holds up very well, and it's still quite a unique film that really shows what a kid can do when he's all home alone and the various situations that he gets himself into when his family is away, and especially that he has to defend his own home. And, well, looking back at it, the story is just excellent. It was unique, and it was just a lot of fun, all thanks to the well-timed slapstick comedy, the great writing, and every single line that was just so quotable, and especially the highlights from the movie. The highlights for me, aside from the various booby traps that Kevin sets for the burglars, they all have to be the Angels with Filthy Souls fake movie that Kevin watches, and the one that he also uses for the pizza guy and for Marv in order to scare them away. The time when Kevin realizes that his family is gone, and then he thinks about the mean things that Megan, Lenny, Buzz, Jeff, Kate, and Uncle Frank say to him during that pizza argument, and the time when Kevin was supposed to pack a suitcase. Yeah, that was another great highlight for me. And, well, everything about it was just fantastic. And it still holds up very well. The cinematography was well done. And here's something interesting. The house that the McAllisters were living in, or even acted in, is now a tourist hotspot in Chicago. And, well, looking back at it, the cinematography for the time still holds up very well. Everything was just well done, well shot, and it was just well paced all throughout. I found no corner cutting whatsoever. And the characters were all lovable. The characters I really liked the most were mainly Kevin because he was not only a very smart and snarky young kid who is also capable of taking care of himself, but he has a lot of quotable lines, and not to mention that iconic scream. I mean, he just really made it. And it's all thanks to Macaulay Culkin, in which I'll discuss his performance later. So yeah, Kevin is definitely a lot of fun to watch as a character because of his quotable lines and just the many actions that he does and the many pranks and traps that he sets for the burglars. And speaking of the burglars, Harry and Marv definitely have to be the greatest comic villains I have ever seen in a live action movie. These two work very well, with Harry being a very short tempered yet intelligent crook, and Marv being a dim witted yet very optimistic and childlike crook. And these two really work well together. And Kate, even though she started out as someone who kind of looks down on Kevin, she is definitely a mom who tries her hardest to get home to her son and make sure that he's okay. And, well, she's absolutely a lot of fun to watch, especially her freakouts. Now, those were just hilarious. And with Old Man Marley, now, the thing about Old Man Marley is that he's also another interesting character because we first see him as this alleged murderer that Buzz says that, well, he was the one who, like, murdered a lot of people. But when Kevin finally sees him, he's actually a nice guy, and I'm not gonna get into much of his backstory because that would really tread into spoiler territory. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you might as well watch it for yourself. But still, his backstory is actually quite sad, though, yeah, it is kind of simplistic. But still, it will get your heartstrings right away. And every single character managed to do well for me, whether it's the boisterous Uncle Frank, the bullying brother Buzz, the snarky and very much down to earth and very concerned Megan, the snarky Lenny, and of course the equally snarky Jeff. They all have their moments. And in fact, the only siblings that seem to get a smidge of development in this film are mainly Buzz and Megan. Now, Buzz, well, he starts off as this asshole brother towards Kevin, but throughout the film, he thinks that Kevin can handle himself and he thinks that he can take care of himself and thinks that his antics, well, with the family kind of got him to where he's at. But with Megan, she did start off as kind of mean and a bit sarcastic. But when the family the family's in Paris, well, she starts to show a little bit more concern and a little bit more care for Kevin, and she starts to be more concerned about Kevin's well-being, as if, what if he's not gonna make it? What if he's gonna end up being, well, what if something bad gonna happen to him? She does show some concern, and with Linny, she starts off as very snarky and kind of condescending towards Kevin, but in a deleted scene, she's actually shown to be quite sweet and caring, and it's a shame that we didn't have that deleted scene. If you want to see that scene, I'll post it right here on the link below. You can go check it out. It's on YouTube, so yeah, go check it out. You'll definitely like it. And that's all I can say about the characters. Oh, and speaking about Jeff, he doesn't really have a huge sense of development, but he's a fun character to watch as well. So overall, the characters in Home Alone are all fantastic, and this is all helped by the equally fantastic portrayal of the actors. Now, this is one of Macaulay Culkin's most iconic roles of all time. And not to mention, Macaulay was Kevin. He was able to get the snark, the badassery, so to say. And not to mention, he mastered the scream very well. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern worked very convincingly as the crooks. Catherine O'Hara is so memorable as Kate. And then you have a lot of other actors and actresses like Kristen Minter, Zenta Moses, Diana Campayanu, Michael Morona, Devin Rattray, Hilary Wolf, and Angela Gethels giving such fine performances. And with these actors, some of these kid actors also did some roles outside Home Alone. Like, do you know that Senta Moses, who played Tracy, was also in Beekman's World as the lab assistant Phoebe? And did you know that Michael Morona, who was Jeff in this film, also was Pete, as in Big Pete in The Adventures of Pete and Pete? I thought that was really interesting. And Angela Gethels, who was Lenny in this movie, also played a part in Rocket Gibraltar and also was the main character in a very short-lived teen sitcom called Phenom. And then we had Kristen Minter, who played the oldest cousin, Heather. She was in a few 90s films at the time, though nowadays not much is known about her current acting roles. And Anna Slotky, who played Brooke, one of the younger cousins, appeared on Sister Sister as Denise, one of the twins' friends. Oh, and not to mention Zenta Moses was also on Sister Sister as another one of the Maori twins' friends called Dot. So yeah, each of the kid characters and some of the supporting characters did have some acting experience, even further acting experience here and there. And like I said, the acting in this film, top notch. And the music, composed by John Williams, definitely has to be some of the most iconic and is definitely worth purchasing the official soundtrack. So overall, Home Alone has really stood the test of time for me as one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, and one that I would watch until the day I die. So for that, you know what I'm gonna give this film. A well-deserved 5 out of 5 stars. It truly deserved the box office praise that it got. It truly deserved the praise that it got from comedy fans and fans of this movie in general. Sure, there were certain critics that didn't like it, like Roger Ebert, but still, this film holds up very well, and I definitely place it really high in one of my favorite movies of all time that I really like to watch during the holidays, and it holds up extremely well, like I said. It is something that I enjoy, and if you haven't seen this movie, well, no offense, but have you been living under a rock? But all joking aside, if you haven't seen this film, go check it out. You will not be disappointed. You will have a lot of fun watching each and every character, especially that of Kevin and the crooks, really battling it out with each other. It is highly recommended. Well, that's all for now. Tune in later where I review the sequel, Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. So until then, see you later, everybody.